I'm going to do this Velocity Intake Systems intake kit here, and this is supposedly good for about 5 or 10 horsepower. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm actually going to try to pull some weight out of the machine. So you guys know me, I'm absolutely nuts when it comes to weight loss. I love pulling unnecessary weight out of all of my cars, except my wife's E93. That thing's a big boat. But you know, out of the E92 and then out of this Trail S, I'm going to see what kind of weight savings I can get. I don't think there's much. The main thing that I pulled out was the passenger seat. So I've got these race bucket passenger seats from PRP, and I weighed one of the seats, and the seat is about 45 pounds. So I pulled that out. So I'm 45 pounds down, and then I'm gonna pretty much try to remove the rear bed liner thing back here and see what kind of weight savings I can get. So I'm gonna kind of take you guys through that and show you what that looks like, and see if it ends up horrible, and see if I regret my decision and have to put it back on. But I got to figure out a way to keep the taillights on and everything like that. You know, I want to make sure I keep the, you know, the fenders and, you know, all the body panels and all that. The main reasons I'm working on the side-by-side right now is I'm actually getting ready to compete, and I'm going to race this thing with Northwest Rallycross at Dirtfish in Issaquah. So I've never been there, I don't have any experience with this whatsoever, but one of my buddies that I know from the Ridge, my buddy Ryan, he has a Rallycross car that he competes with. I guess they added a side-by-side class to the Northwest Rally Association out there at Dirtfish. It's a UTV class, so I signed up, so I'm gonna go compete. There's 4 events. The first one is on November 4th, and then I think it's each month thereafter for a total of about 4 different events. But I'm pretty excited. I mean, I get to take my Trail S and I get to go race and compete. I think it's kind of in like a time attack style, where you're basically trying to throw down the fastest lap on the course that you possibly can. So if you guys know anything about Rallycross, that's basically what I'm gonna be doing, just with my side-by-side, my Trail S. So I'm working on this thing, I'm trying to get it dialed in and get it ready to go, ready to rock, but I'm pretty excited to do that. I love driving this thing, and I love driving it fast, and now I get to actually race it and compete against other people, which is pretty dang cool. Well, I have no idea how competitive I'm gonna be in my side-by-side. You know, there's a lot of bigger side-by-sides with big power. They've got turbos on them, you know, they're 180 plus horsepower. So my Trail S here has about 100 horsepower, but where it shines is it's very light, and so it's got a short wheelbase. It's 64 inches wide with the spacers that I have on it, so it's very stable, but it's only got 100 horsepower, but it's extremely nimble, so I can just flick it into turns and I can change the direction super quickly, but it doesn't have a lot of power. So I'm not really sure how I'm gonna stack up against some of these other guys that are gonna be competing in that UTV class. So I'm kind of curious to see how that goes. No matter what, it's going to be a blast. I don't really have any expectations. I'm not really concerned about placing really well. I don't even think the UTV class is very packed. I don't even think there's that many people in it because it's a relatively new class. But I just want to go out, have fun, drive this thing in kind of a competition setting. It's almost as much fun as driving the E92. It's just, it's a different experience for sure. So I don't have any expectations, but it's going to be a blast. You know, when I'm up there, I'm going to take lots of videos and get some good content. I know on a lot of the bigger turbo units, it's pretty normal for people to delete this rear bed rack area. You know, it's all plastic, so I don't think it weighs a ton. I'm also doing that Velocity intake, and so to give myself some more room to get down to this intake tube right there, I figured why not go ahead and pull all this plastic bed liner and stuff out, weigh it, and then kind of decide if I want to leave it out and save some weight. So I'm sure I will probably end up doing that. I don't think anybody has ever done kind of like a weight loss routine on the Trail S 1000. There's not really a lot you could pull out of this machine. I was trying to think about what I could remove, and there's really nothing. You know, all the body panels are plastic. They don't weigh anything. I mean, it's pretty much a bare bones machine besides this little, you know, bed storage rack area here in the rear part. So I'm gonna pull this thing out and see how it looks, and hopefully it doesn't look like absolute trash when I'm done. So I'm removing the stock airbox to give me some more room, and then also I'm deleting the stock airbox because with the new Velocity intake, you don't utilize the stock airbox anymore. So just a few clamps. You got a clamp there, and you got a clamp here, loosen those. Then there's 2 bolts on the front. You got a bolt there, and now this thing's loose, and I should just be able to pull this thing right out. Okay, so we got the stock airbox out. That's what it looks like. super friggin' dirty. Dust everywhere. So I took the stock airbox out because I have to anyways, because I'm replacing it. Basically, instead of the airbox, it's just a straight open filter. So we'll see what that looks like after I install it. So I'm going to try to pull out this little trunk skin here and see what that does for me. So for anyone wondering how to get this plastic bed cover off, it's kind of a pain in the butt, but you have to come underneath and you have to disconnect both of these rubber tubes. One of them is for the clutch, and I believe the other one is for the transmission. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but both of these tubes need to be disconnected and removed. And then obviously there's a bunch of bolts in the bed liner itself, but then there's also a few tiny Torx screws up underneath here that also have to be removed, and you can kind of see the little pegs sticking out there. But I'm pretty sure I got it completely disconnected, and it looks like it's just going to slide straight forward underneath the cage out into the driver area here. So to get this thing out, I think I need to remove this intake tube. It's kind of in the way, but I got to do that anyways to install the new Velocity intake. So I'm going to pull that intake tube out, and that should give me enough room to get the liner out. Well, here we are. I can't get this bed liner out without pulling the top little half of the cage off. And I'm lazy and I really don't want to do that. I don't know, I just can't get it to squeeze through here. So what I might do, because I'm pulling this thing out to save weight anyways, in Beast Motorsport fashion, I might just cut this right here, right down the middle, and then it'll be two pieces and I'll be able to pull it out super easily. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. I haven't cut anything on this machine yet, but I guess there's no time like the present. Just cut it up and get it light. All right, here it goes, we're cutting it. Yeah, it's just a plastic bed liner at the end of the day. If I really needed to get another one, I could. It's really not that big of a deal. Don't freak out. Right down the middle, huh? I don't want to pull the cage off. Ugh. So now this thing should come out. Oh yes. Oh yes, just like that. Boom, there's one piece, two piece. Shit. I just shaved a 1/10 of a second off my lap time from doing that. And this is what it looks like with the bed liner removed. Not too bad. On the right hand side that you see here, I need to reuse this. So I'm going to cut right along here and pretty much only use as much as I need to save as much weight as possible. But the clutch air intake tube mounts to that little hole right there. So what this is going to do is I'll cut this right hand portion off. I'll remount it over here on the side, and then my rubber tubes are just going to mount right back up to that. And that should allow me to kind of cleanly mount these and save as much weight as possible. So now this piece should just fit right back in here. You know, I'm sure people think I'm crazy for doing this kind of stuff, but you know, for me, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy doing it. I love working in my garage doing this kind of stuff. And then, you know, you can feel the weight savings, seriously. I probably won't notice it too much on this. I'm curious to see how much weight I actually saved, but it's mostly the seat. I took the seat out, that was 45 pounds, and then all this plastic I pull out, but it's gonna be about 20, 25 pounds, you know, and so it's not a huge amount, but for me, you know, this is my machine. I just try to drive it as fast as I can, and now I'm gonna kind of race it. So I'm gonna do what I want to it. I'm not really worried about reselling the machine. I never really think about that. I'm just gonna enjoy it and do my thing to it. Nice zip tie special here. My buddy Kyle would be happy. Just joking, he wouldn't. At least it's not chicken wire. I used chicken wire one time to mount something in the back of my E92. I think I was just trying to hold the heat shield up, and he still gives me shit for that. It's like, dude, you can't use friggin' chicken wire in a race car. I mean, he's got a point, and he's right. When you're just a do-it-yourself guy like me in your garage, you just kind of go with what you think might work. That's why we have true professionals out there, and I am not one of them. I just do shit and try to figure it out, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'll just do it again. So Sarah just came out, looked at what I did, and said, "You ruined everything we have." It's like, wow. I do like to take weight out of things and mess with them. So, but she said, "I ruin everything we have." Okay, so I just weighed all the stuff, all the plastic that came out was a total of about 23 pounds, which is pretty good for stuff that's completely unnecessary that doesn't really need to be there. And then honestly, the look of the machine looks fine. It doesn't look, you know, that bad. It still looks pretty clean. And then the passenger seat is another 45 pounds. So right there, that's 68 pounds. That's a decent amount of weight. I probably will be able to feel that amount of weight. So I think for me, it was worth doing for what I'm going to be doing with this machine. But so I'm happy with all that weight savings. All right, so I thought I was done with my new intake install. And then I started thinking to myself, why don't I cut some square holes in this plastic cover right here, and that would allow more air to get in and get to the air filter and into the intake and the engine. So I think that's a good idea. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't see why that wouldn't be a benefit. You know, if I cut this thing and it's not good, I can always get another one, so I'm not too worried about that. But I think I'm just gonna cut some square holes right in this plastic cover right here, and then the filter is basically right here. The intake just sits right behind this little plastic panel, and that would allow air to just go right into this big box and get right into the intake. So I think that's a good idea. Hopefully, hopefully I don't regret it, but I can't see a reason why that would be bad. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna trace these out and cut this thing out with a little Dremel and create a little bit of a ram air intake situation here. So here we go. I traced out the 3 holes that I'm gonna cut. And, you know, there's still a lot of covering, and I don't think it's going to allow, you know, a bunch of dust and dirt and mud and wetness into the air filter. I mean, it'll let a little bit, but, you know, that's okay. I can live with that for increased horsepowers. Trying to get as much out of this machine as I can before I slap a turbo on this bish. Three holes cut out, so you see the filter for the intake is right here. You know, so you know, if I'm driving and pouring down rain or driving through massive mud puddles, yeah, you know, there's going to get some water up on that intake, but I'm not that worried about it. This is nice and covered right here, but you know, there will be some water that trickles in there. But I really think that these 3 holes are going to help a shit ton of air get into this intake and hopefully create some more power. So I'm going to kind of sand the edges and just clean it up a little bit and try to make it look nice. All right, well, there it is. That is the finished product on the intake here. So you see I got these 3 holes that I cut in. That's going to allow a ton of air into that space. You know, we'll see if I regret it. If you guys think I'm absolutely nuts, comment down below, but I really can't see any negative thing from coming from this, besides, you know, some water and dust and other things getting in there. But I just don't think a ton of stuff's going to get in there. I think we're just going to get more air and make more power. So comment below if you guys think I'm nuts.